Right now. Okay, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the monthly UPMA training session brought to you by our very own Maribeth Kirkland from Ohio. Maribeth, I'll let you take it away and I'll run the PowerPoint for you.
Thank you so much, Edmund. For those of you that have been on, well, we've been struggling with the PowerPoint. I do apologize for the technical difficulties, but thank you for joining us tonight. Tonight, we are going to look at how to achieve effective leadership skills and retain employees. As Edmund said, my name is Maribeth Kirkland, and I'm going to do a presentation here for you this evening. So next slide, Edmund.
I think we're going to get the cool little.
So this is Jerry. You guys can see Jerry. Did you move it? There we go. There he is. So this is Jerry. He's my mascot for tonight. We got to love Jerry. He's going to be a lot of fun. He's going to be appearing occasionally to help me drive some points home. And tonight we are going to cover strategies for providing effective leadership strategies, leading by example and engaging employees. We can go to the next slide. There you go. Thanks. Retention and development of employees, empowerment, commitment, integrity, and trust. So Jerry and I are going to get going here on to the next slide. Okay. One more, Edmund. Okay. I think I'm one slide ahead of you there. Okay, very good. So folks, we all know about engagement, and we all know that engagement starts, with you, with us. Engagement is extremely important. That slide's not coming up right, Edmund. There we go. Always remember, folks, to have a personal commitment to engagement. This is part of leadership's responsibility. It has absolutely been proven that when we engage employees, they are more productive. It's also very important to always listen to employees and know that their opinions count. They have great ideas. We need to bank on that. Always be careful to match leadership styles with employee skill set. And we'll talk a little bit about that in just a moment here. So we know that engagement is very, very important in regards to leadership. We all know how we feel when we are not engaged. So think about what your employees feel, when they're not engaged. So let's talk just a minute about appropriate leadership style. I kind of like to do this starting with our brand new employee. When we're bringing employees on board, basically there's different leadership styles that we have to use. The first one is the telling style. And basically, folks, that's one-way communication. This is where we tell employees, our new employees, what to do, how to do it, and the why we do it. Okay. The second one is our selling style. And I like to refer to that during the probationary time. This is when we get our employees to buy in. At this point, they've got a lot of questions. They want to get involved. They want to know as much as they can. They're just like sponges. So always use the selling style, okay, at that level for the probationary period. And then we have our participating style. Once employees get through their training or learning something new, this isn't necessarily just pertaining to our new employees, but also, if you're placed in a different position that you're not familiar with, you're going to need to go through this process as well and go through all the different styles of leadership. So basically, the training, once training's completed, the employees are wanting everything we can to engage them to be part of the team, help them to get involved with the other employees. And then we have our delegating style, and this is where we want all of our people to get to. These are our seasoned employees. These are employees that know exactly what they're supposed to be doing. You just give them a task, they do it, and they're on their own. So again, we want all of our employees to get to that point. Always remember, folks, to be a good communicator. That's very, very important in leadership. Communication is huge. You know, it's going to start with us. It starts with you with communicating. Don't be that communicator or boss or leader that you know, welcomes a new person in the door and walks away from them. You have to be involved, you have to be active with them. And then the last but not least, always lead by example. I know that our actions are contagious. You know, it's contagious. So you always have to examples. Okay, on to the next slide. We're going to talk just a minute about empowerment. So we are charged with the responsibility of motivating employees to stay with the Postal Service. And it can be difficult. We're going to go on to the next one there, Edmund. I'm just waiting for the slide to change. Up, back one. The empowerment slide. There we go. Okay, there's our Jerry. Thanks, Edmund. Okay, so again, we are charged with the responsibility of motivating employees and retaining employees the best we can. A lot of people ask, how do we go about doing this? Know, folks, that when you empower your employees to make decisions and to influence the direction of their work, they're going to become more engaged. This empowers them to strive towards achievements. Employees need to know their value to you, to the team, and to our organization as a whole. It's that simple. We all want to be involved. Help your employees reach and achieve goals. It's not hard to build a productive team by allowing them to empower themselves. Just, you know, let them run with it, let them go. Always remember, folks, praise is very, very important when it comes to empowerment. Look for positives and message appreciation always. So how do we build a good, productive team? You got to put a lot of time and effort into it. You know, if you want a successful, productive team, you've got to put forth that effort. You're in the position to build teams. Employees will get a sense of purpose when you're allowing them to get involved in teamwork. They develop trust and respect for each other. It creates positive feelings in the workroom environment, and it also builds motivation. You will see, you know, in the process of building a good, productive team, that work habits are going to improve. An engaging workplace is always a productive workplace. People want to come to work. Most all people want to come to work, right? We always have that 10%. When they're engaged, they want to come even more. They're excited about coming to work. They're anxious. And again, you are going to be the ones that's going to be in charge of their environment. Next slide, Edmund. All right, commitment. Talk a minute about commitment. So basically, commitment's an art, folks. It's something that's learned and improved along the way. I love this little diagram up in the upper right-hand corner. IQ and EQ equals success. So we're going to talk a bit about EQ, which basically EQ is the emotional quotient or emotional intelligence, okay? So when we're talking about commitment, folks, and want to be successful, there's things that we have to do as leaders. Basically, it's pretty simple. You have to listen and you have to hear what is being said. You need to know what your employees need. Always listen, not interrupting. Make sure your employees know what their role is. Set expectations and goals and make sure that the employees know what they are. Acknowledge that you understand and always provide feedback. So listening is super important in any workroom environment. when you're working to build teams and provide leadership for your employees that makes them enjoy coming to work, right? You want to make sure that you're listening to them. Let your employees know that you have, your full attention. I I just have to laugh at myself at this, because every time I talk about listening, I have to go back to the very beginning of my career with the Postal Service. So I had a boss who was pretty tough. And after several months into working with him, it was a level 13 office, very small office, for those of you that remember those lower level offices. So we worked pretty closely together. And at one point, he told me that I was a terrible listener. Well, it made me mad, right? I was pretty upset about it, because I thought, no, I'm not. I listen well. But you want to know something? I started paying attention to my listening skills, and I realized that he was 100% correct. So that's something that I've had to work on, my entire career. Listening is super important. Another thing that I picked up on that I was doing, and I think we're probably all somewhat guilty of this, an employee comes to your door, they want to talk to you about something, you're busy getting an email, a response back to somebody that's kind of urgent, and you just continue to type, right? And you don't give them your full attention. Not a good thing to do. Try to stop what you're doing, or tell the employee, I've got something I've got to do. I'll get back with you just as soon as I get done with it, or stop what you're doing and give them your attention. So, be committed to listening and hearing to your employees. All right, this next slide here. All right, trust. Let's talk about trust. Very important in leadership. You always have to be straightforward with folks, people. There's no sense in providing a lot of fluff, in sugarcoating things. It just is not a good idea. Be straightforward. They're going to respect you more when you are. Always keep your promises. Super important. We do forget things, right? We're all human. If you forget something, apologize to the employee, but always live up to your promises. Treat people fairly. You have to be very careful with this and make sure that you treat the same people, the same all the time. Don't ever get involved in disparate treatment. It's just, it's not a good thing. We have to treat everybody fairly. What your emotions are, you still have to respect people. Trust is extremely important in motivating employees. Build a foundation to engage and retain through trust. Okay. Next slide, integrity. So, in integrity, lead by example, folks. When you do things right and others see you doing things right, they're going to follow your lead. Okay. Always communicate and listen. We've all heard employees accuse us of not listening or not caring. But as a leader, you need to be a good communicator and a good listener. Be honest. Never sway from honesty. Sometimes the truth hurts, right? But always be honest. If you break that honesty, always do the right thing. Integrity is all about doing the right thing. Even if you don't like it, do it right. All right. It's very, very important in effective leadership and in retaining employees. Employees do not respond well to bosses that they do not trust. Okay. That's where trouble begins. That's where gossip starts. So always, always hold your integrity high. The next slide we have here is on retention. And this is kind of an interesting diagram. And it is back to 2019. But it's very interesting to know that 35% of employees that leave our organization say it's because of the compensation and the benefits that were provided. 22%, they want more opportunity for advancement. Maybe they just see a dead end road. They don't see opportunity.
And we get those calls all the time. You know, I'm an RCA, I'm a rural carrier, you know, I'm a CCI, I can't get any opportunity. So, you know, a lot of people leave the organization because of that. 19%, I just dealt with this yesterday. They don't like the support that they receive from their manager. So, you know, being a good leader, being a good, strong leader, you've got to be supportive of the employees. 11% want to be closer to home and have more flexible work schedules, right? 10% are just basically other reasons, and 3% state that there's not enough training and development in the Postal Service. So folks, looking at this, you know, and we all know we're struggling with retention. It's pretty alarming when you look at these percentages. So know that we need to improve, and you as a leader need to do whatever you can to improve those numbers and retain our employees. Ways to retain: build a cohesive relationship, practice two-way communication, be involved with those employees, control your emotions, and apply emotional intelligence. All right. Always, you know, build good relationships with people, know when to use one-way communication, keep control of your emotions. And that can be difficult sometimes, but that's something that we do have to practice. Practice using emotional intelligence. We're going to talk about that here. You know, emotional intelligence is a proven fact that it does help improve leadership skills and retention. So we're going to talk about leadership ethics, all right? We all know what the code of ethical conduct is, right? Make sure, as I said earlier, always lead by example, do the right thing. Be honest and respectful. We're on the next slide here, Edmund. Be concise and straightforward with your employees, folks. Very, very important. Okay? Always use two-way communication. In other words, have that conversation with people. You have to let people know what their expectations are. You have to let them know how they're doing. You've got to have a conversation with people. They want to know where they need to improve. They want to know what they've accomplished, what they've done well. So always have that two-way communication one-on-one with employees. Always provide, you know, and encourage feedback. You know, after that discussion, you know, you need to ask, okay, and always be committed to the employees that we have. And right thing, if they see that leadership is being respectful, honest, and ethical, you'll be a good example, like you when I grow up. I just heard that yesterday, and the one gal who's only been with us a short period of time, but she's done really, really well. She said to one of the other training techs, she said, I want to be just like you when I grow up. I thought that was really cute. So, all right, next slide. Always commit, folks, to, you know, building a good, productive team. Put time and effort into building a productive team. It does take time, folks. It's work, all right? We've all heard complaints about bad management. People come to your office and they complain about, you know, other offices or other people within your own office. You know, you do need to know and learn what their concerns were. Don't get into the gossip part of it. But it does help you to look at the way you're managing and the way you're leading your team. From the beginning, for a brand new employee, folks, always ask yourself, did I greet the new employee? Believe it or not, and in employee development, which is, I'm acting employee development manager right now in Ohio 1 district, and I'm amazed by the amount of people that come in. Had one girl in my office a week before last in tears. She was 3 days into her on the job training and had not even met anybody from management and had a issue, I guess, situation with her on the job trainer. So, you know, you gotta be involved in this. You've gotta, you know, greet the employees, you know, introduce them to their coworkers. They need to know what they're doing. They need to be comfortable in a new environment. Always make sure that they have contact information if they have any issues or concerns. And I tell people all the time, folks, if you want to talk to me and you don't want to talk to me on the workroom floor, either come in the office, give me a call. Here's my cell phone number. Here's my email address. Often we hear, that people complain that leadership either doesn't respond or doesn't respond positively. So take their concerns and issues to heart. All right. Next slide, we're going to look at emotional intelligence. So this is very interesting. I just did a PowerPoint on this whole thing, 2 parts for our Learn and Grow. There's 3 great reasons to incorporate high emotional intelligence as the leader. It is proven that people with high, I'm going to call it EQ, know what their feelings and emotions mean and how they impact others. So emotional intelligence is essential for success as a leader. Emotional intelligent leaders are calmer and more successful with control. Research shows that people with high EQ have greater leadership potential. We'll look at emotional intelligence a little bit deeper here. Go on to the next slide if you could, Edmund. So how do we build emotional intelligence? How do you learn that? Okay. You can build and develop your emotional intelligence by being self-aware. Always focus on skill building. Recognize your weaknesses and build your ability. Constructive criticism, folks, helps us to recognize our weakness. None of us like it, right? But it does help us to recognize our weaknesses. Just like I was telling you about my listening with my first boss, okay? It is not a bad thing. It does help you to grow. Research shows that employees that have had managers with high emotional intelligence were 4 times less likely to leave. So, thank those managers with high EQ. It's very important. They're doing everything they can to retain employees. It is proven that leading with emotional intelligence retains employees. So there's a book here I wanted to add in. It's called In Search of Excellence. The author is Tom Peters. It is a really, really great read. It does contain a lot of good tips and pointers on learning to lead better with emotional intelligence. A quote that he has in there is success in business today is 15% technology and 85% emotional intelligence. So that's how important this is. Go on to the next slide there, Edmund. Okay, so there are 5 benefits of leaders with high EQ in the organization. They are self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skills. So let's break down these 5 elements. Go to the next slide there, Edmund. Sorry about that. Okay, so self-aware. We're one more over there, Edmund. Think about this, folks. If you don't see yourself, you cannot understand your impact on others. That's where you have to be self-aware. Leaders with good self-awareness know their strengths and weaknesses. Leadership that practices self-awareness, they're always aware of the impact that they have on others, and we do impact others. Emotions, know how you feel and the impact your emotions and actions have on others. Very important. When you're comfortable with yourself, folks, others find it easier to be comfortable with themselves, okay? So, control your emotions once again. The next slide we have is self-regulation. Leaders with good self-regulation are always in control of their emotions. Emotional intelligent leaders are not judgmental types. So in other words, they usually don't judge others. They value others. Control. Leaders with good self-regulation do not compromise values. They rarely verbally attack others. They do not make rush decisions based on emotions. They do not stereotype people. Okay, next slide is motivation, right? Leaders with good self-motivational skill set goals achieve them and hold high standards for their quality of work. We've all heard of raising the bar, right? Emotional intelligent leaders always raise the bar. They set their goals high. Motivated leaders are very passionate. They have good self-motivational skills, have a deep passion for work. It does not matter the status or compensation, they are passionate about what they do. So we all know that we all like that paycheck, right? But emotional, intelligent leaders are not as concerned about status or compensation. And then we have empathy on the next slide, talking about development. Everybody knows the difference between sympathy and empathy, right? Empathetic leaders develop people and listen very well. Empathetic leaders are good at challenging behaviors and sharing constructive criticism. They're understanding. Empathetic leaders are skilled at putting themselves in other situations. They understand and feel the same emotions as others. They're compassionate and caring individuals. So empathy is extremely important in a good, strong leader. And then we have, last but not least, our social skills. The next slide. So, social skilled leaders manage change and resolve conflict very diplomatically. They're diplomatic, they're good communicators. Social skilled leaders set good examples and always welcome change. Being diplomatic in all communication is so important. Learn to hold, back your emotions and be diplomatic. If you have to, take deep breaths, whatever you need to do, take a walk, do exercise, whatever helps you control stress and control your emotions. All right. One thing that's really important, folks, is, learn to delay a conversation. So if your emotions are running high and maybe not in a good direction, delay that conversation. Okay. If you're writing something in response to an email that you're not happy about, draft it, come back to it, whether it's an hour later or tomorrow, come back to it. Don't pick up the phone and make that phone call if your emotions are high. So I always like to say, don't be that person that wishes their mouth had a backspace key, right? Communicators, social skilled leaders are great communicators. Social skilled leaders are great at building teams, supporting, and are always excited and enthusiastic about their work. Highly emotional, intelligent leaders are always committed and dedicated, regardless of barriers that they may face. They learn to get over those barriers, cross those barriers. They don't let them get in the way. Sometimes social skilled leaders can be perceived as softies, okay? But that's not the case. They're really leading in a very, very good way. Next slide, we're going to talk about balancing vulnerability and confidence. So how do you like this cute little baby here? So he has a little quote here, or she, whatever. People feel less like idiots when you share what you've learned from screwing up. Okay, we're all human, as I've said already. All right, let's talk about it. Failure is normal, folks. As a leader, vulnerability and confidence do not have to be mutually exclusive. You can strive a healthy balance so that your employees know that it's okay to make a mistake. Message to others that failure is normal. Always admit to your mistakes, folks. It will gain respect and trust from your employees. And then these quotes, I really like these quotes, so I threw these in here. So think about these. The brain is a muscle that gets stronger with practice. Very, very true. Nobody ever walks before they fall. And guess what? We've all been there, right? So, we have moments, right? We have whoops, we have times that we fall, that we don't succeed. Just pick your chin back up, move on. All right, next one is don't sit on your high horse. Morale, talking about morale and emotion. Low morale creates disengagement and negativity. Always demonstrate to others' ideas. Everyone has lapses in judgment. You will be seen as more approachable when you are open to others. Do not allow negativity to rub off on you. And we've all been in those situations, okay? Avoid it. Stay away from it if you can. Always keep your emotions in check. Watch any knee-jerk reactions that you might have. You know, they can message anger, disrespect, negativity, and even arrogance. Facial expressions tell a story, okay? Emotions, folks, can be very difficult to control. You know, I'm sure you've all heard the saying that, you know, your emotions are written all over your face, right? Try not to be that person, okay? Try not to show your emotions. And then we're on to the next one. We're going to talk about continuous improvement. And this is going to look familiar to everybody because, again, we're using our STAR format, right? Our situation, our task, our action, and a result. You know, it's very important, you know, to keep in mind our continuous improvement and the STAR method. You know, people use that for their KSAs, for their e-careers, whatever. But you can also use it for a checklist for successful leadership. You know, study what the situation is, figure out what you need to do, take that action and see what your end result is, okay? And then we're going to go on to the continuous improvements, all right? There's 4 parts to continuous improvement. The huddle, I got football huddle going on here because we're getting close to football season, right? The huddle identifies struggles as a team. The same thing with individuals, all right? Have that one-on-one, folks. Communicate with the employee continuously, okay? Always huddle with them, communicate. It doesn't have to be a group. It can be on an individual basis. And then we're going to talk about the GIMBA. GIMBA stands for where the work is. Always make sure, folks, that you're doing a daily walkthrough to see what your employees see and what they need. Walk with the team and as a team member, okay? Not as their boss, but as a team member. Be with your employees. We've all heard of those postmasters or supervisors that come in the door, go to their office, never see them again until they walk out to leave for the day, right? That's not productive, okay? You need to be out there with the employees seeing what they're doing. So always remember the GIMBA, walk the walk. And then we're on to reflection, okay? A review or reflection helps to explore what you've seen and what you've observed. Reflection is necessary to understand situations. A strong leader, folks, knows what is happening with the employees that they supervise. Very, very important to be aware of what's going on, all right? And reflect on what the situation is. So the next slide, the continuous improvement part of it, right? If we use the huddle, the GIMBA, reflection method leads us to improvement. A great tool to improve leadership skills and retain employees by using the huddle, GIMBA, reflection and improvement, our continuous improvement. This will always help us to obtain solutions. So, my gosh, so Jerry's back, right? In conclusion, folks, when you motivate, make sure you know, you empower, build trust with your employees. You're going to increase in productivity. Always see higher levels of commitment, loyalty, and retention. It's always going to be a win-win for all. So number 1, motivate. Number 2, empower. Number 3, build trust. Okay, are there any questions? Comments? Okay, I have added some contact information here on the last page. I want to thank UPMA for giving me the opportunity to share this information. This is something that I personally am extremely compassionate about. I really feel strongly in retention and doing everything right by our employees. So I do want to thank you all for being on tonight. I do have my contact information there. My office number is 216-443-4232. My cell phone number is 440-821-4667, and my email, Maribeth.Kirkland, Mary with an I. My mom had to be different, at USPS.gov, or my personal, which I didn't put on here, my personal email.com. So thank you very much again, folks. And
Maribeth, thank you very much. You did great. The audio was a little spotty, but you made it through. So thanks,
okay,
everybody.
thank you.
I'm gonna stop the recording, and then we will say good night for the evening. So thanks, everybody. And we'll see everybody next month.
Good night.
Thanks.